So hello everyone. I'm put on my Jaak hat right now. I was wearing the swarm hat in the morning. Uh, so Jaak has been a company in the music and blockchain space for quite a while, since the beginning really. So we're fully on the bandwagon to solve this problem of the music and media industries, and uh, namely namely seeing the problem coming from centralization and anachronistic technology, and kind of try to foster these new technologies in this domain by contributing technology where you can directly link as much as you can the end users of creative content production and consumption. So basically, creative content producers and fans or content consumers. Now, in this kind of big agenda, obviously the best kind of end product that you can imagine is some sort of decentralized YouTube or decentralized Spotify. So obviously you need to have a component where where you store content, and content distribution is linked directly to to technologies which can handle financing and can handle like this kind of micro licensing or paying for royalties, and therefore you need a whole ecosystem which is decentralized and able to eliminate the middleman, or can come up with kind of more efficient solutions than currently exist. So this may sound very ambitious, and as Jaak mentioned earlier, who kind of set the stage quite nicely for us, explaining the problems with the current models. Obviously, we also had faced this problem of going to market. Our answer to this dilemma was to kind of isolate the components that can individually be useful in stages. So the first attempt was to realize that. Sorry, how can I? Can I?
I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. So we started out advertising our product, the Meta network, which was supposed to handle media copyright, and this component is definitely needed in any system which aspires to fuel kind of a licensing platform, any kind of monetization for current content. Why is that? Because you have to respect the current legal situation where copyright is protected by law, and licensing needs to respect copyright owners, and therefore you need an authoritative database, basically a global view of rights, which when authoritative, people can trust in order to figure out when they license a content who to pay. So this problem was meant to be solved by the Meta network, which we now rename, and we kind of hereby announce the new name, which is Chord. Chord as in record and accord. So record as in register copyright owners and their creative content, and accord as in reach consensus over them. So have some authoritative database. So I scroll down to the next slide. So what problems we need to solve with this? First of all, we need to answer the question: how do we represent knowledge or information about copyright ownership, about songs, videos, etc., and also how this information can be utilized by the actual consumer services or clients, for example, a licensing engine or any kind of higher level application that uses licensing, for example, the proverbial decentralized on Spotify. So what we need to solve for this is obviously to have a way in which we can trust the association of say, a wallet address and a particular song, For this, you need to verified identities. Basically, you need to link real-world identities to digital identities. This is a problem that a lot of people target to solve in this blockchain space. Seems like a quite simple problem, but it's actually not. And second of all, you need to also need consensus over the accuracy of copyright ownership claims. So basically to ultimately link digital assets to their owners and by conversely link digital assets to wallets, which can then serve as a kind of smart content item in the sense that whenever you use a particular content, it knows about its licensing criteria and provides a very transparent and easy way for applications to handle royalty payments if they wish to be lower abiding and respect these licensing arrangements. So what we need to have is basically a global view of rights, or with less glorified terms, it's basically an attribution database, which is definitely a stage that's needed in this process. So our way to going to market is to first build this component, and which is ideally suited for the blockchain and Swarm. So what we're gonna use is we basically representing IP information and also identity information as RDF graphs, and this is kind of the representational solution, and store these RDF triples representing the claims on Swarm, and when we use smart contracts to regulate basically the business process of how certain conflicting claims are resolved, and how an authoritative view of conflicting information emerges, basically giving rise to a global view of rights. So how do you do that? This is basically the problem of content curation. Now, the decentralized storage mechanism, which links certain data to digital identities, for example, through the Ethereum name service, is perfectly well suited to represent conflicting data in the sense that you can have the claims and statements and assertions linked to a particular identity, and that on Swarm is very cheap to fork the truth, so to say. So you can have just a slightly changed version of a knowledge graph and put your own opinion in one little bit that your opinion is different from another source. So the point is that putting RDF graphs and knowledge graphs on Swarm and linking them to identities is a perfect solution to represent basically an epistemic modality. So basically to represent everyone's view of the truth. However, how is the real truth emerges from that? This is the age-old problem of having a single source of truth is what's actually a useful product. It's in the same way as age-old institutions like the land registry. They are useful only if there's only one of them, there's a consensus over them. So this is the same problem. In general, this problem is called data curation, and there are various ways in which data curation and the quality control of the ultimate emerging truth can be incentivized. The basic model for that, which is used, is token curated registries. There's interesting ways in which you can evolve these ideas and combine token curated registries with incentivization of not only incentivizing basically authorities that you trust, and then therefore with with people staking certain tokens, they increase the reputation of certain authorities, but at the same time, they can indicate the importance or popularity of certain content items, and possibly give even a stake, and allow various novel ways of monetizing content creation. So it has far-reaching possibilities. All these models are going to be worked out in the near future, and the notion which I would like to introduce here is the notion of a guardian. A guardian is basically an expert, which can be an agent, any kind of AI, or actually a human that using their expert knowledge, or any kind of organization. And these guardians will basically cover certain topics. Certain topics are matched to particular IP statements. For example, you can have a domain expert on music recording rights in the UK, and that's a particular organization. And by virtue of they having data about such associations of identities to music recording claims in the UK, they can acquire reputation, and in a kind of decentralized, emergent way, guardians will emerge whose decision on these curated claims will constitute the single source of truth and the global view of rights. Now going back to the original, so basically the global view of rights is reached with the help of guardians and an incentive mechanism based on token curated registries, and obviously, as I mentioned before, this global view of rights or attribution database is ideally the first stepping stone towards a more extensive framework. First of all, it can be used by some licensing engine, which you can imagine as the backend for any kind of decentralized content distribution system, and also in the domain of IP, you can also extend it to like trademarks, logos, and brands, or patents like engineering, creative works, etc. And having this notion of smart content, which as I said, is the idea that you bring in other aspects of the supply chain of creative content consumption. For example, in the case of using decentralized storage, you can imagine a streaming service using a like say Swarm, and reporting usage statistics, which are provable usage statistics to the music licensing platform, and therefore there could be automatic royalty payments initiated, and based on the curated authoritative global view of rights. So such a system is extremely powerful, because it basically brings a lot of these services which are currently handled by 1,000-member organizations. It can virtually automate a lot of these processes, and therefore it has the promise of making the costs really low. So I kind of end with this, and just introduce my colleague Luke, who's going to talk about the kind of the UI, the view to this underlying network, which is currently at prototype stage, and he's going to talk about like how you can actually use that, what an admin dashboard, so to say, to this test net could look like, and is looking like. Thanks.